Hello bannange abatulaba mugamba mutya. I greet you all of you mbalamusiza nnyo mwenna abatulaba. Kansubire mu week mugiyise bulungi ate ebitagenze bulungi tolamentinga kwegamba tofaayo kubanga byonna bijja kutereera. Kasita ogamba nti nno ojja kudda ku bitagenze bulungi obiteekeko nnyo amaanyi go gonna ng'omanya nti nno omanifestinga kuba nti nno wiiki ennaku eziddako bwe zigenda okubeera. Mbalamusiza nnyo. I welcome you all to the Revolutionary Spa. I'm your host, Sophia Sebi. Kansubire bannange muli bulungi, bonna ba viewers baffe abali ku UNN TV Facebook, on YouTube, abali ku Twitter, n'emikutu emirala gyonna abasharinga mwebale nnyo. So share this message, share education, share inspiration, motivation. Ffenna tusobole okuba nga tweyigiriza okurevolutionarizing our mind, okuba nti nno twezimba kubanga eno program teri nti nno eri political, naye the most important thing eri nti nno gwe ng'omuntu nga ggwe ki ky'osobola okukola okuba nti nno okyusa mindset yo, ki ky'osobola okukola nti nno okuba nti okyusa obulamu bwo. Kale yes, wadde twagala particularly political, socio-economic situation e Uganda okukyuka, twagala nkyukakyuka oba ki twagala nkyukakyuka, naye nga gwe omuntu ogenda mu Uganda ekyuse ng'osigadde nga bwe wali, oba ogenda mu Uganda ekyuse ng'okyayina emize gye gimu, okyayina the same thinking, endowooza y'emu. Bw'oba ng'okyayina endowooza y'emu, enkola y'emu, then what is it that you're revolutionizing about your life? What is it? So welcome all of you, welcome. I once again mbabuuzaako mubeere bulungi, kansubire Katonda jattu the next hour, which is exactly 1 hour gye tubeera nayo ku Revolutionary Spa ku UNN TV. Kansubire nti nno in the next hour ojja kuba oyina ky'oyigamu ate nga nange nyina kye njigamu. Kansubire nti nno ojja kuba ng'owa constructive criticism and not criticism putting her down. Kansubire ojja kuba nti osobola oba ekimu ku bibiri ky'oyizeemu, osobola okugenda ate expandinga knowledge yo n'okola more research, kubanga wano ku UNN tukola research okubatuusaako bye tubatuusaako. So mwenna abali eyo abalumiziddwa mbasaasira, abalwadde mbasaasira, abafiiriddwa mbasaasira, especially abakoseddwa mu bululu obwagenze mu maaso, nammwe mbasaasira. Kansubire nti muyiga nti bw'oba ogenda kola ekintu ekimu ku bibiri ng'olina omulamwa gw'oliko oba ng'olina reason why you're involved in a certain thing or something, you know that there's a reason why you're doing it. Ate ekintu ekyo kirina kuba purposeful, tomalaga. So ffenna tubeere nga tuyina kye tuyiga okugamba nti nno tetumalaga kola kintu kubanga tulina okikola. This is what we should do. Era ffenna we have to be, tuli mu campaigns oba tuli mu ki, nedda. Oba ogenda kukola omulimu gwo kagubeere nga guyina kye gukuyigiriza, togukola kubanga oyagala gamala. So I thank you all, UNN viewers, abali ku Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, abali ku YouTube. Mwenna mbeebaza okuba nti nno mbeera ku UNN every day, okuba nti nno mwina kye mutuyigiza, and I thank you so much ababeera mu comments. I thank you all. Sigenda kubamenya mannya naye nga you know yourselves, mwenna abaliko mwina kye munjigiriza ate nange nyina kye mbayigako every day. Fenna of course UNN team yonna tujebaza kuba nti no every single day you're all here supporting, and we're all here on a cause. Buli kyetukola kirina intention yakyo ate kiri purposeful. So nga tugenda mu program yaffe eya today, it's about again we continue our mindset series eno tuli ku episode 3. Mindset series today kiri about thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. How your thoughts become things. Nga endowooza yo bwevaamu ebintu by'okola. Buli kimu ky'okola kisooka ku ndowooza n'olyoka okola ekintu ekyo. So bw'oba olowoozezza ng'olowoozezza in a certain way, togenda kulowooza nti ojja kungula something else that you didn't think about. You're not going to reap what you've not sowed. We reap what we sow. So today, episode 3, is about to revolutionize our thinking is to reclaim our freedom. As a point tugenda kwogera ku point 3. Point eddako, what does this mean really? Ate ngenda naku, maybe but what we not time, I can share with you maybe a personal story that can maybe help you to get thinking. Ntino challenges zonna tezijja kugwe weka. Fena tubeera ne challenges, naye challenges ezo how do we overcome them? How do we overcome challenges? How do we get up when we fall down over and over and over again? Katiraba situation nene ya revolution ya Uganda, political revolution ya Uganda, leadership revolution, bwetu falling down over and over and over again. Nga bwetulabye example, perfect example ey'obululu buno obubadde bugenda maaso. One thing that I have observed nga ndaba all the commentary kumikutu gumu oba ebiri, ekintu kye nsinza okulaba nti no abantu bakoowu tewali, of course ekyo si secret, naye nga abantu bakoowu ate this time bakooye nnyo kubanga ndabye nga boogera ku bintu nga kakati otugamba otulaga DR forms. Kakati what is next? We need tangible solutions. Tetugenda kubeera nga tugamba kati DR forms, kati tugamba kino, kati the same story over and over again. What is the difference this time? What are you going to do about it? We need a good leader. So each and every one of us can be a leader. Naye sigenda genda nnyo eyo kubanga sagala kubeera political nnyo, and I'm not a politician. And I suppose couldn't care less about politicians, but what I care about is the justice. What I care about is the human being. What I care about is you yourself making sure that you have a mindset. Egenda okuyisa mu every challenge. What is your mindset going to be? Okay, as we move along, njagala kusookera kugamba revolution. And mumanyi, what does revolution mean? I mean, I'm sure most of you know because you're very educated people, and very education doesn't mean only into ogenza mu university, ogenza mu class. Nayo oyinza okuba educated because you did yourself education, you had home education. Kubanga ekawe wasookera education netulyoka tudda in the world education. So saagala oteeke nnyo buli bwe njogera ku education, I don't mean this universal education, I don't mean standard education nga bwe tugimanyi. I mean that you have educated yourself. Oba mbukulu oba mbukadde, you have educated yourself. And so what if you didn't go to school? As long as omanyi era abalabi baffe abaka UNN bawulira, there's been so much improvement. So bannange mukoze omulimu gw'amaanyi nnyo, kubanga there's so much improvement in the discussions ne okuba nti no you connecting dots very 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 well, articulating yourselves okuba nti no muteesa bulungi nnyo. So mwebale nnyo, bw'aba tewali mmwe, of course we can't be here, kubanga you give us that motivation, you empower us okuba nti no tujja no day in and day out, every day, every week, ne tubanga tulina kye twesomesa, one thing or two. Nenga as we move on ku slide yaffe eddako, mbadde njagala kwogerako about revolution. What is it? And I know revolution, of course, tulina program yaffe yazanje eyogera nnyo ku about revolution ne comparing what is, that different comparisons of revolutions, political revolutions more than anything, in the world. So revolution, what is it? Revolution, with the research that I've done, revolution is a tool for the people. Nga bw'ogamba enkumbi y'abantu oba akaso, something I'm just putting it into context. I want to use simple language. Fenna gye tusobola understanding naye bw'oba totegedde bulungi kyentegeeza, please by all means buuza munno akuli ebbali oba kubira ku munno, oba send us comments or an email. My email is right there. It's sophia@getunn.com. UNN @getunn.com. The email for the entire TV. Name but revolution, what is it? It's a tool for the people. It is the will of the people that brings about change. So for instance, of course, what change do we mean? We can mean changing a corrupt government. Ngeye Uganda bwetugiraba. Nensi endala ezisinga mu Africa. It's a transformation to have revolution or revolutionize yourself. You transform. Or what you transfigure. You can transform, rearrange the things in a completely new way. Oyinza okuba n'ebirowoozo, completely change your thoughts and your thinking, change your behavior, perception. Bobanga wakula olowooza kino, nga bwe tumanyi nti nno you become your environment. So environment yaffe ye Uganda etuyigiriza ki kye tulina okwekyusiza ddala. Laba ekintu kya corruption, laba ekintu ky'obufuzi nti nno it's now a job and income rather than to be for the people. Abakulembeze, they no longer want to be for the people. They want to be for themselves. Me, myself, and I. So what do we need to do? Fenga abantu abali mu revolution abagamba twagala nchuka. Ogenda kugamba bugambi yagala nchuka. And yet you're doing the same things over and over again. How do you say you're in a revolution or call it the same things? Tukirabira no mbululu, Mukulonda tukirabira no muntu ne muddayo ne babakuba ne muddayo ne babakuba ne muddayo ne babakuba. What does that mean? Don't you learn from your mistakes? But if we don't learn from our mistakes, then what else? What is next? Anyway, I'm not going to go on ranting. Nayenga, it's a transformation. Revolution is a transformation. It's a rearrangement of things. Okukyusa kyusa ebintu. Katugambe nti oli oyina ennyumba yo, or a deed oliri the same January to December. Oba emyaka 5 tokyusanga kintu kyonna nga bwe wayingira mu nyumba ebintu ebyo biri exactly the way it was 5 years ago. How about rearranging those things in a completely new way? Kubanga, when you rearrange things over in a new mindset, such as your thoughts, behavior, perception, perspective, new way of thinking, taking on new ways of living. Dwaki taking on new ways of living? But tubadde tuteeka nnyo essira okugamba nti no tukola ki bwe tubadde tugamba nti no ffe essente ne zifuuka sente. Now, how about changing that and saying, no, it's not all about the money anymore? Ekintu si kya ssente kyokka. Ekintu kyakuba nti no, changing a mindset yange kubanga bwe naagikyusa ate ebirala byonna bigenda kuba in alignment. Bigenda kwekola byokka. So completely change, often taken with criticism and resistance. Nga bwe tulaba, kati UNN TV ejjane new ways of thinking ogamba nti no tetugenda kukola bwetyo tetujja genda na the masses, tugenda standing alone and be the truth command center. How do we completely change? Of course tugenda abantu abavumye abali resistant by resistance nga tebagala kukyusa ndowooza oba bagamba nedda ffe tusinga naye that is delaying the revolution. Just give me 1 second. That is delaying the revolution. And I urge you nti no mukoleki mubenga mukyusa endowooza. Okukyusa endowooza. Okay, revolution is a phenomenon. What does that mean? A phenomenon, something completely new, changing the whole landscape kijenjogerako nga social landscape, empisa zaffe nga bwe tubadde tweyisa before. Let's not go about the same way. Bwe tubadde tukola politics, that is no longer what we need to do. We need to be completely in a different way of thinking. We need to give birth to new systems. Waliwo ekitabo kino ekya Joe Barnes, Escape the System. It's a really, really good book I've been reading. It's the ultimate guide. Of course, tujja kuteeka gundi reading list, Escape the System. That is something that you can actually start reading as well. And other books, there's so many other books. Ngagwa omuntu eno show is about self-purposeful action. It is not about buli omu kyaliko right now. It's the masses, as in the Uganda political spectrum of Bantino. Yes, it has everything to do with that. Kubanga, that's the reason why we're here. Naye nga ate tekigenda kuba nti no tujja kwogera ku leadership yokka ne tubanga tetwoyogerako ffe ng'abantu tugenda kweyubula tutya tuve mu thinking eno ebadde y'emabega ebadde etutadde mu chains, holding us in bondage, holding us prisoners. Oyinza okugamba toli musibe physically naye oli musibe in your mind. Tuli basibe mu minds zaffe. So we need to revolutionize our minds, and doing that, what is it? Revolution is about a tool eno eriya people abantu bebasituka kubanga something is not working ne basituka ne bagamba no, we need a new way of thinking. We need to transform our society. We need to transform our communities. I need to transform my home. I need to transform myself, career. The job that I'm doing, if I don't like it, I need to transform. Complete change, a birth of a new system. Okay, if we go to our next slide. So, Ngabo Tegede revolution, what is it? Continues. Ngabo Mbagambi, it's about political transformation or reforms to radically, to have a radically different from the one before. complete change in leadership, in the institutions, how we view the world, our perception. We need completely change. For example, waliwo revolutions ezaali zigenda maaso, you've got the American, you've got the Iranian, you've got the German revolution. Is between the 1950s and 90s, certain events occurred that could be deemed revolutionary. Nga bwe mbagambye ezo. Era bw'oba oyagala kusoma in a little bit more, please do, take your time. We will share this information ku UNN Times. Slides, tujja kuba ne section ya education, at least we can share, so you are able to actually follow up, olabe references, bibliography, osobole okuba nti you take your research further. So some spontaneous revolutions za mirundi, za mirundi ebiri. Some are spontaneous or some are planned. Ezimu zi happeninga kubanga, waliwo ekibaddewo, tewali plan eriwo. Ne kati eyaffe eno, kati nga ku UNN proposing a plan, UFCC, UNN proposing a plan about how we can revolutionize our political transformation from unitary to federal. So, one author, Kamrava, talks about the Iranian revolution. So from 1925 to 1978, revolution being spontaneous, yali spontaneous, whilst as Chinese and Cuban revolutions, those are planned carefully for a period of time by highly organized guerrilla movements. There's of course a reference there, and you can follow up. So if we could go on, move on. Nayenga, I'm trying to define revolution, or the beginnings, why we're doing the things. We cannot know what the revolution is without knowing, the definition of it. So we have social revolution, transformation, the way we communicate. Laba, how we communicate with each other. We no longer write letters. Naye tuli ku email, tuli ku text, tuli ku messenger, tuli ku chi. How does that change the way we relate to each other? Chichusa chitya engeri jetubeera kwega, this human touch is no longer there. Human touch is important. As human beings, truly humans by sight, by touch. Computer technology advancement, is it a curse or blessing? Looking at the way, for instance, tuli ku Facebook kwetuteeka nti I'm unhappy with the government, but then how about what happens on ground? What happens in the physical? Is it a curse or blessing? Maybe it is. Of course, it probably is some of it, because we're here. Tuli wano ku Facebook, tuli ku tuli ku social media, tuli ku Twitter, tuli ku YouTube. Information runs faster, goes faster. That's fine. When it turns out sour, what happens to, for instance, abaana baffe abali exposed to this information, eri ku social media? Oba n'abalala abakyala, olabawo abakyala nga beeyambudde, balina bye bakola tobitegeera. Naye what does that say about our morals? Where do we go from here? What has this done to our thinking and ability to be creative? Sina morals zokka naye creativity. Kubanga ekintu kijja mangu, kiri readily available. Tetukyakozesa maybe bwongo bwaffe kukyusa kugamba nti no nedda, let me use my hands to create, to write, naye ndi ku Google, oba ndi ku anything, just to tell me what is what, the meaning of something. We no longer sit down and having conversations. Why do you think we have so much depression? imagine eno transformation or revolution ya social bwe yajja okuba nti n'abantu tetukyawandiika amabaluwa tetukyakuba masimu. In fact, a text or two is fine. I remember just the other day, nyina nephew wange dali simuwulizanga naye abeera Uganda, nephew n'agamba, nampeeza ka message n'agamba, hey, how are you? And this happened like over 3 days. Hey, no, this is not right. It is not acceptable. No, I am talking to a stranger, or I have to be courteous in the way nti mbagamba hello, good afternoon, or good morning, how are you, I hope you're all right. Sigenda gamba hey. And he knew I'm auntie, naye n'asalawo gamba hey. So I had to say something. Omanyinze, I have to say something. I really don't go quiet. Some things, yes, I do, because I use my emotional intelligence. Nayenga, some things I have to say something respectfully. Challenge. Challenging okugamba, no, what you're doing is actually not right. Nga bw'olowooza mu bulamu bwo, abaana bo obasomesezza otya? Obasomesezza nti bagenda gamba, hey, what sort of leader are we going to have? Do they feel entitled? And kubanga, it's easy to write a text or message, so they won't address you accordingly. So what has this done to our thinking, ability to be creative? Has it enhanced risk or limited? So for instance, nga dating, do we even know how to wait? Courting, fena tumanyi okwogera n'omuntu of the opposite sex. What is it that you want? Or someone, what happened to good old days? Omuntu najja, they pick you up, some nice flowers, some nice flowers. Oba nakubira akasimu naye text messages, texting, and then we are actually having some physical illnesses because tubeera ku simu all the time, texting. How about just a phone call? We talk about it and, have some human, because we're having that sort of interaction, it was some emotion, and you feel much more connected to that person. For instance, Katinga, when I talk about abuse, being that I'm, a social worker and I do work with children, something has changed. Omuntu wa 40 years old trying to, talk to a 13-year-old. Why? Kubanga tebamulaba, they don't know they can get away with it by saying that they're 14 or 13 themselves. So is it putting our young people, our young generation, more at risk? Okay, we can move on now. So ebintu bino byonna mbireeta kulowooza. There's a reason why I am bringing this information. It's not haphazard. Techiri by accident. I'm being intentional and purposeful. I want to show you into revolution. Tell about the political spectrum or transformation yoka. It's about social, economic, political, our mindset, the perspective, our perception, our way of thinking, our way of living. So economic transformation, we have an equal distribution of wealth, especially Uganda. We have heavy taxes, unfair treatment in job creation. We have high unemployment rates, land grabbing, corruption. We have all of that. Okay, we can move on now. So next, we of course, as we talk about the revolution, I just want you to think, about this quote. We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. By Maya Angelou, this quote. Kitegeeza nti nno tusanyukira ku bulungi bw'ekiwojjolo. Oba bakiyita kiwojjolo? I hope so. Yes, I'm sure. Ekiwojjolo tukisanyukira. Obulungi bwakyo bw'okiraba ku bimuli n'osanyuka n'obeera excited, naye gw'ogamba kivaawa bw'olaba lifespan yakyo. How does it start? It starts off ugly. Naye we completely blank it out okutegeera nga bwe kyatuuka kitya okubeera this beauty that you're able to admire. I'll leave that as food for thought for you guys. Mwenna abali naye nga mujja tugamba, what is it when you think about your life, when you think about the revolution, the Ugandan revolution? Are you willing to go through the bad, good, the bad, ugly? Not just the good, but the ugly and the bad. Kubanga revolution has a price. There's a price on the revolution, and you cannot think ntino ogenda kuba mu revolution, or that we're going to be in the revolution. Tugenda moving on to gambe in the revolution. Nayenga tete we've not accepted the ugliness that we have to go through, or we're going through. Being in denial. When you hear hashtag DNA. Okay, we move on. So what are you willing to do for your freedom? Ngabwe mbagambye, you cannot think that there's no price to pay. There's a price to pay, a big one. And this price can be, in fact, it doesn't necessarily need to be ugly. Nayenga, it will bring up all the deep thoughts, all your deep trauma. For instance, I'm spiritually, psychologically, socially, economically, politically, it needs to be an upside down, turn everything down on its head. Okujjawo tables zonna tuziturning. So look, setting a sitting room once again, obupya. Bobango gamba nti banange nze ndi munene laba bwenfana. Maybe, go and work out. It takes sweat to actually get that weight off. If you're saying that I don't like the job I'm in, what is it about the job that you don't like? What is it about your health that is not going so well? What do you need to do? So sometimes when njogera ku bintu nga njogera about trauma, I just want a caution. Ntino manyi most of us have gone through trauma or have been traumatized by one way or another in our personal lives, in our family relationships. And I just want you to take care of yourself. Bowlida anything at all that I'm saying that hits you and brings up emotions that bring up when you're not ready, by all means, I ask you to just not watch this program. Mbasaba bobanga owulira nti waliwo ebintu byoyogerako byenjogerako byenkwatako, especially ebiri ku mutima gwo, kubanga obulumi bw'oyitamu oba bwe wayitamu nga toyagala kubijjukira, oyinza okuvaawo n'okola ki, n'okomawo, obanga oli ready program n'ogiddamu ogiraba. So I want us to consider starting with your thinking mindset, take on new ways of behavior thinking, take our power back through a change of mindset perspective. How about re-educating ourselves? I have a different thinking about education system, eri mainstream. I don't necessarily believe, of course, omuntu okuba educated or okuba ne PhDs nga 10 oba masters or whatever, as long as you're happy, contented with your life, and you can educate yourself, you know the basics, but there's so much material which you can self-learn, self-develop yourself. If you want to go down the mainstream education route, by all means, be my guest. Naye, if that is not a possibility, don't sit down and lament ogambe bannange era nze nalaba era nze political system eno social tebatuwa milimo tebatuwa naye lwaki teweesomesa. What are you doing with your time all day? Oli ku Facebook, oli ku Twitter, oli ku Instagram, oli ku kulabu video, oli ku olunaku lwonna bw'oba toli ku UNN TV, bw'oba toli ku any other educative program, what are you doing with your time? Okola ki n'essaawa zo? Weebaka all day oba osiiba wa neighbor muli mu lugambo? Eyo is a mindset yogamba nti nze kanneesomese nga siina genda mu kibiina, especially okwogera ku kino ekya lockdown ekye Uganda okuba nti no tukyali abaana bakyali mu lockdown tebali ku ssomero. Abazadde b'abaana mukozeewo ki? Abaana mubasomesezza, bw'oba tomusomesezza lwaki tomusomesezza? Olinze omuntu omulala ajja kusomeseza omwana wo? Manya nti omuntu omulala bw'aba nti yakusomeseza omwana wo, era you're going to reap what you sow. What does that mean? Ntegeeza ki? Ntegeeza nti no omuntu bw'abanga alinga eno government eriwo tesomeseza baana quality education, the quality of education has completely gone down the drain. Era abaana okuvaayo maybe they don't have that the expected education, quality of education gye tulowooza gye balina okubeera nayo at the level, either at university level or S6 or S4 or primary 7. Bwe banga tebalina kye bayizeeyo, why are you paying school fees? How about the revolutionizing of the education system? Church tugaana. Kubanga to looking up to somebody else's standards. Tulowooza nti no, maybe abazungu bwe bagenda okutuyamba batukolera education system, maybe abachina bwe bagenda, maybe bano abaliko abafuzi abaliko be bagenda okutereza education, naye labwe bwe bagikola ng'ate tulina evidence yonna weeri. Tukiraba nti no Uganda yokka y'ensi ekyali mu lockdown in terms of schools being closed. Naye ng'ate mu Uganda, ffe abali abalament nga bagamba era ffe nga tulabye era ffe. No. How about you take the personal responsibility, you educate your child? Bw'obanga wasoma watuuka mu university ng'omuzadde, there's so much internet, what you can take. You start learning with your child. Tandika okweyigiriza gwe n'omwana bw'obanga omwana asobola okusoma oluzungu oba asobola okusoma akatabo konna n'oluganda n'ekiswahili, genda mu library ofuneyo obutabo, oba genda ogula obutabo mu kifo ky'okugula engatto n'ogula Gucci and so on and so forth, and wanting the best car, picket fence, whatever, you're chasing the money. Mu kifo ky'okukola bw'otyo tuli mu kucakala. Dwaki tetulira homeschooling the last 2 years? I'll give you an example. Nja kubawaayo example. waliwo muganda wange alina omukyala nga teacher naye omukyala ono of course aliko atudde kubanga amasomero maggale. Of course yava mu town naddayo mu kyalo okuba nti no expense of course eya gundi okuba nti tebasasulwa nga bwe tumanye Uganda. Naye ekisesa kati nali njogera ngambagamba nti naye lwaki aliko atudde, lwaki ate nga ogamba nti no kale ng'ate most of the time kwegamba naawe wennyini oba willing okugamba nti nange kambayambeko mbaweerezeeyo entandikwa, maybe entandikwa ejja kubayamba but atandika okwongerako afune ku magoba matonotono, si manyi nti tetulina kuba rich, a filthy rich, naye wealth is important kubanga okozesa obwongo. Wealth is about the networks that you have. Wealth eri about your friendships. Mikwano kijobera nabo bakuzimba oba tebakuzimba. Wealth eri about the knowledge. Atenga knowledge eyo teri powerful until you put it into action. Knowledge is only powerful when you put it into action. It's useless without being in action. Ngabo onolaba entana oba ngabo onolaba gundi graveyard. Graveyard is the most richest place on earth. Why? Kubanga abantu bangi abaina knowledge bali awo. Kubanga tebatwala the physical riches, where are they? They didn't go with them. Tebagenda nabyo mu ntana. Kale mbadde mbabulira kada, one example of this family member ono nengamba omukyala lwaki tagenda n'agenda mu baneighbor awo n'abuuzabuuzayo nti oba balinayo abaana basobola okuba nga asomesaawo mu kati oba asobola okubasomesaawo mu nnyumba muyina enough space, build 2 rooms otekewo akusomero otandike. It doesn't mean tulina kulinda ate omuntu omulala ne bwoba ofunamu maybe mutwalo gumu n'ogamba buli mwana nyina abaana 10 ngenda kubajjako mutwalo gumu buli mwezi. Why not? Why not? This is the revolutionary mindset. We need to free ourselves from bondage, shackles zitusibye and holding us back and right, you have this whole thing on your shoulders. The bad leaders but stunting a growth. Kati ticho yajja kuvaayo atya adde mu kusomesa baana kyagenda basomesa ati kubanga n'obwongo bwe abustuntinze. Kubanga bw'oba ng'okya ekintu bw'oba ng'olina ekintu ky'okola ate ng'oyagala kikola bulungi olina okikola again and again and again and again, being consistent, no researching, n'oba nga bwesomesa all the time. Ate ekirala, how are your traumatic experiences? Ebintu bye wayitamu oyise mu abuse. Have you been abused? Nga kyekikutaddemu fear. Kubanga omuntu yakugamba nti no, you're not worthy. You are worthy. You are more than worthy. Kubanga Katonda yakutonda n'akuteekawo. Osobola buli kimu bw'oba ng'oteeka obwongo bwo ku kintu ky'oyagala okisobola. Oyina low self-esteem. Imposter syndrome ekugamba. Imposter syndrome kitegeeza ekintu ekikugamba nti no gwe lwaki gugamba osobola gwe tosobola gwe toyina kubeera mu nnyumba eri ennungi oyina kubeera ano gwe toyina kubeera mu mulimu guli oyina kubeera ano. Kwega kiringa agamba nti waliwo omuntu ayogera naawe ow'omunda agamba nti gwe tosobola. Naye no. If you take a revolutionary mindset, n'ogenda n'ofuna obuyambi oyagala ebintu bino ebikuholdinga back from going forward, from being free ng'oli mu bondage. Nga bwe abantu bwe basharinga nga UNN TV ezze I remember very well last year or earlier this year ng'abantu basharing nti no mulangira mutuyambye okuba nti muzze. We're no longer being held back. We're no longer in panic mode. Emotionally, truly relieved. So how about your personal life? Okay, we'll move on from there. Nayenga, think about it. What are you willing to do for freedom? In Ogundi, I'm not going to go into how my thoughts saved me, but I'll probably leave it for another day. Kubanga ndaba time yaffe egenda ekendeera, because it's something I wrote and I will share with you hopefully next time. And I just want to just give you an example of how my mind saved me or how my thoughts saved me. I think it's important to sharing a little bit of our personalities, personal experiences. It is possible. So when we think about this quote, I love this quote, when no one can make you inferior without your consent. Tewali muntu agenda kufuula atali wa mugaso okujjako nga gwe omuwadde obuyinza. That's Eleanor Roosevelt bwagamba. So who have you given the power to choose or make decisions for your life? Nga bwe tulaba nti no tuwadde abakulembeze obuyinza to make the decisions of our lives, of how our schools should run, our education system, how our social services should run, how our economic environment should run, how our infrastructures should run, government offices. They are making decisions. Kubanga ffe tubawadde consent. When you go and vote over and over and over again, you are giving consent. Abantu obawa obuyinza okulowoleza. When you remain a victim of your circumstances, what image are you creating? Bw'osigalanga gwe ogamba bannaye mutuyambe kati laba wano situation yogamba nti emmeri yeejja bannange mutuyambe bannange tukolawo ki nga taking a personal responsibility about or getting involved mu ebyo ebituzimba. You are giving other people okuba nti no bajja tulinnya ku mitwe. Bw'olaba the colonial system, bw'olaba slavery, even now tuyina the trafficking, kubanga abantu tubawadde obuyinza ogamba nti no banne mutuyambe mutuwe emirimu. How about creating our jobs? Mwe temulowooza kuba essente zino z'okutta enkalu ze ssente. Naye ng'ate you can actually be okay living off the land. Yes, mujja gamba bannange ate ettaka balitwala, naye I'm sure buli omu alina gye yava nga waliwo akataka buli omu olina gye wava. Bw'oba toyina, I pray for you nti no, at least community tuwezimbe tube nga we bring up, we lift up each other. Ne when you remain a victim, tetubeera ba victims. Tetuli ba victims, and we will not accept being victims. The more we accept being victims, the more we are going to have leaders abagenda sinabayita naba leaders. They're not really leaders, because leaders listen to the people. Naye kyengamba abo abakulembeze abo abaagala okutwala ebyaffe bo beddiza ebyaffe kubanga twaba obuyinza. Buli bw'ogamba nti bannange mutuyambe tufa buli bw'osigala eyo nti nze bankuba kakati sisobola kukola kino, naye ng'olina emikono ebiri, olina obulamu, olina amaaso abiri, olina omutwe ogulowooza. Remember, thoughts, we become our thoughts. Thoughts create things. Endowooza yaffe ekola ki? Ezimba. Tosobola kugamba nti nno era wamala okulowooza nti nno tolina mulimo, bw'amala okulowooza n'olyoka ogamba nti kakati genda nfuna obuyambi, naye yava ku ndowooza. Then bwe nfuna obwo obuyambi ndabe kye nnaakola. How about thinking? Kubanga olowooza nti oba omuntu oli omulala yagenda okununula buli kiseera. Naye we need to think about how about us. We, first of all, go inside ourselves, deep down, okuba brutally honest to stopping kino ekintu kya victim and savior. Why is it nti West yebeera savior, Africa yebeera victim all the time? Naye ng'ate ffe tusinga ebyobugagga. What does that mean? What does that say about our self-esteem? Communities zaffe, kubanga it's one person at a time. Omuntu yafuna behavior, abakulembeze abo behavior zaabwe ne bazi trickles down to the community, to the country, to the population. What they're exposing all the time ku TV nti bannange twagala kufuna gundi donation wano donation buli kiseera tuli ku donation, please give me. How about you take your power back? N'ogamba nedda saagala kusabiriza, no more. When you give power to your leaders over and over again, nemuvotinga ekintu ekibeera ne babakuba nemuvotinga nemudde n'abakuba nothing happens. Of course, what happens next? It becomes normal. Now we're not be internalizing it becomes normal to you, and it goes in your subconscious mind, and then it becomes you. You've created that situation. Yes, some part of it erinti abantu bali be creating, and naye ffe twabawa power, ffe tubawa obuyinza. Kale nga tu moving along. So who have you given the power? Mbadde nkiitamu, when you leave the decisions of how your communities, villages, towns, schools, countries should be run, who have you given the power to decide? Dwaki gwe togamba nedda nze kanfunewo kana akusomero oba nyina abaana bataano, let that be my income. Naye ku kyemmanyi kambayigize ku kyemmanyi. When you leave the education to your, to the states, education of your children, state, government, no ngaba minister bana abatatuzimba aba education mu Uganda. No leka gundi social media ne influencing abaana bo. No, or you leave it to chance. What sort of generation are you creating? What sort of child are you creating? What are you giving power? You are giving power to that thing, social media, to the state. You have created a monster, or you've created something. We become what we create. We become our thoughts. When you think, you speak it and you act it. That's how you create. How our thoughts become things. Okay, if we move on, please. So, I think this is one of our last slide. A quote again from Maya Angelou. If I am not good to myself, how can I expect anyone else to be good to me? Mukirowoozeeko. Gwali yandaba kirowoozeeko. If you're not good to yourself, how can you expect anyone else to be good to you? Bw'oba teweerowooleza bulungi, lwaki olowooza omuntu omulala agenda kukulowooleza bulungi? Njagala olabe mu life yo njagala olabe or taking an inventory nga bwe twagamba the past 2 weeks. Call to action is that twala inventory of your life. Think about it spiritually, physically, psychologically, career-wise, kale political, yes, social, economic. Wandiika biki ebiri mu bulamu bwange bye sitayagala kulaba mu bulamu bwange. Family, friendships, emikwano, oba oli mu abusive relationship, oba weetaga counseling. I know, manyi culture yaffe, we don't really get into counseling that often. Kubanga tugamba ebyo tebitukwatako, naye guluza omuntu bwagenda n'abeera alcoholic, n'abeera ku drugs, neyetta suicide. What do you think that is? Bw'oba toyogera ku bintu, a problem shared is a problem halved. So funayo mukwano gwo, maybe go trusting oba family member, ebintu byonna ebigenda mu bulamu ebitali bituufu, maybe you're sharing. Bw'oba toyagala, that's okay, but write it down and look at it and say, be truthful, honest, and say, where do I need to change? How do I completely transform my mindset? How do I stop my negative thoughts making the things that are in my life? Ngenda kukola ntya okulekerawo endowooza yange okuba nti no tetondawo ebintu ebyo bye saagala kulaba mu bulamu, kubanga ffenna endowooza yaffe yeetonda ebintu byonna bye tulina mu bulamu. Mbaagaliza ekiro ekirungi, mbaagaliza weekend ennungi, ate mbaagaliza yonna gy'oli, emirimu emirungi, obulamu obulungi, bw'obanga ogenda kubeera really honest about yourself. If you're going to be honest about yourself, about the revolution, about Uganda's revolution, you need to revolutionize your mindset. Oyina revolutionize your mindset. What is your mindset saying to you? I wish you all the best. Thank you very much, UNN team. Thank you, our viewers. Abali ku Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tewali live, I'm sure. Instagram naye abali ku Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Mwenna abaliyo abatekinze your time to watch this program. N'abanagiddamu program eno. Once again, I thank you all. I wish you all a really good evening, good morning, good day, and a blessed weekend. May God bless you all. Thank you.
How can you sleep at night when Uganda's sons and daughters are being abducted, raped, tortured, murdered, traumatized, wrongfully imprisoned for standing up, speaking out, and speaking up for the truth and basic human rights? Whilst